So today I am doing my April wrap up. I read 7 books in April, which is ridiculous. I had like 11 books on my TBR. I only got through 7 of them, but at least I got through some. I guess I was still in a bit of a slump. I feel like I'm coming out of it, but we'll see. But yeah, I got through 7 books. I enjoyed most of them, so that's a good thing. I won't chat too much. I'm just gonna hop right in. So the first book that I read was by Alyssa Braden. This is The Making of a Highlander. This is the first book in the Midnight in Scotland series. And this book was really funny. I really enjoyed our heroine in this book. Her name's Annie. And Annie basically is the town weirdo. She talks to ghosts. She's got like a ghost friend that she's had since she was a child. And people just think that she's just crazy. People avoid her. John is in town. He is actually he's like the heir to an earldom or something like that. But he is out in their town in Scotland, their little tiny town in Scotland, trying to take care of a house that a friend of his basically bequeathed to him. And her father wants that house, but John is not allowed to sell that house to her father. The man that gave him the home said, whatever you do, don't sell it to this guy, which is Anne's father. And so they're kind of in a deadlock where Anne's father won't sell the property next door, which John is trying to get a hold of so that he can sell the entire thing just to anybody but her dad. And so they're just in this headlock where neither one of them is willing to let go of their part of the property. And so he's stuck in this little town in Scotland. He's trying to fix this house up. Annie's father basically tells him, if you can win they have these sports games that they do in the spring, and if you can win even one of those games, you can have my half of the land. And her brothers are the only ones that win these games every year. And so he basically has absolutely no chance. But Annie offers to help him, just to help him train. She's like, my brothers are the ones that win all the time. I can give you tips and pointers and help you out. Like, just let me help you out. The ghost that she had since she was a child, this ghost disappeared one day, but she had a dream about him, and he had told her that she would marry a lord. And so she asks John if he will give her lessons in how to become a lady, how to act like a lady. And she's a very brash woman. Like, she's got a tongue on her, and she will whiplash you with that tongue. Annie is very interesting. She's extremely funny. But she's not a person, she does not suffer fools, and she kind of has to learn when to keep her thoughts to herself, and she's not very good at it. But the two of them start to spend time together, obviously, and at first he finds her really annoying. He's like, what is it with these Highland women? Like, they're just crazy. Like, I don't understand these women out here. But she starts to kind of wear him down, and he starts to fall, and he falls hard. There's this old lady in town who's basically blind, who she brings as her chaperone for their meetings. And this woman, she's got some marbles loose, and it's just funny. This book is really funny. There are some really dark moments though too. I ended up giving this one 5 stars all around, just from start to finish. I loved it. There's not a single thing I could say I disliked about this book. they would talk about her making bread all the time and how her bread was so good, and I actually started to like salivate while reading the book because it was like, I want to try this bread that they're talking about. Her bread is apparently so delicious that I'm just like salivating at the mouth thinking about what her bread must taste like. Once John realized he was in love with this woman, he wanted to marry her immediately. And I just really, really loved this one. This one was so, so good. So, yeah, if you haven't read this series yet, I've heard the entire series is really good. And I think the fourth book just came out. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you really should. The next book I read is by Vanessa Kelly. This is The Highlander Who Protected Me. And this is about a guy named Royal and a lady named Ainsley. And Royal is kind of at this point in his life where he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's, I think, a third son. There's like a lot of boys in his family, and so he just doesn't really have a purpose in life. There was a woman, Ainsley, who he really, really liked, and he apparently had tried to kidnap her to get her to marry him, which didn't work. And she ended up being engaged to some other guy. So when he finds out that she is in town, in the little countryside town where he's living with his brother, he decides he's going to go visit her. And when he goes to see her, she's pregnant. And it turns out that her fiance had raped her. And so she is pregnant, and thankfully she's able to hide it from her family. But she doesn't know what to do with this child. She's like, once I have this child, I have no idea what I'm going to do about it. I can't take the child back home with me, and I don't want to just give it up to just anybody. And so she convinces Royal to take her daughter, and he basically takes the little girl and tells everyone that the baby is his daughter, that she's his biblo. And yeah, she's like, I'm gonna go back to my life and pretend like nothing ever happened, and you take my daughter and take good care of her. I know you will. But 3 months later, she returns, and things get very interesting from there. There's a lot of fear around her ex-fiance. She keeps trying to break up with this guy, but he's kind of got like an obsession with her. She's really worried that he's going to find out, that she had his baby, and he's going to make a really big fuss out of it. But she and Royal start to really, really have feelings for one another. They'd always kind of had attraction to one another, but, once she sees how good of a father he is, she really, really starts to fall for him, and wants to be a family. So this one's really good. I enjoyed it. I gave this book 4 stars. Royal's grandpa and Ainsley, they don't get along at all. These two are constantly at each other's neck. They are at each other's neck, and it's just so funny, the two of them going at each other. Those are some of the best parts of the book, is Ainsley and his grandpa just snapping at one another. Ainsley kind of got on my nerves in the very beginning of the book, but she really grows as a person. You can see her character development happening very, very smoothly, and I really like the person she becomes at the end of the book. Royal just thought this woman was the best thing since sliced bread. He seriously thought that this woman shits rainbows. He just, nothing she does ever bothers him. He's never upset with her for anything. And I was just like, this man is sprung to hell and back. He just, yeah, he thinks that she's everything, and he would do anything for her. At points I'm like, maybe you should be a little upset with her, just a little bit, maybe that wasn't right of her to do, but he doesn't care. he loves her and everything she does he is okay with. But overall, I really like this book. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars, and yeah, this was a good one. The next book I read was All Night with a Rogue. This is by Alexandra Hawkins. This is a Lords of Vice novel. Lady Juliana and Alexius, who they call Sin, it's a good apt name for this man. Juliana is hiding in a tree one day at a ball. Some guy was trying to get handsy with her and she was trying to avoid him, so she literally climbs up in a tree. Sin comes out with some woman, they start making out, and then they start doing more than making out, and she's standing in this tree just like, ooh, I'm not supposed to see all this. And he happens to look up and he sees her in the tree, and he's like, all right, I don't want this poor innocent girl to see me doing all these uninnocent things. So he stops what he's doing and the woman leaves, and he starts talking to Juliana, and he finds her interesting, but she won't tell him who she is. And then he meets with his sister, and his sister is kind of a cruel woman. So she doesn't like Juliana because Juliana is friends with a man that she's interested in. So she tells her brother, I want you to go. I want you to ruin this girl who is, I think, ruining my relationship with this man that I like. And I want you to ruin her in the eyes of society and just leave her. And so he's like, who's this woman you want me to do this to? Again, his name is Sin. He's not a very good person. And so she's like, her name is Juliana. And of course, she didn't tell him who she was when they first met. And so he's like, all right, I can do that. But then he meets her and realizes who she is. And he's like, shit, do I still do this or do I not? And he does, because he's an ass and he can't help himself and he's super attracted to her. So he takes her innocence, and then they start to have an affair, and it just kind of goes from there. This book was yeah, I gave this one 3 stars. So there was barely any romance in this book. Aside from them meeting, there really wasn't like much of the two of them connecting and like spending time with each other whatsoever. It was pretty much all plot. They don't spend any time together. They literally just have an affair, and it's spoken about, but it doesn't really happen. Like, you don't really experience it in the book. And so I had a lot of issues with this one. The book was pretty short, and I think in some ways that might be why it didn't have enough substance to it. It was, let's see, it's about 330 pages. I feel like it needed more. There just needed to be more of the couple specifically. I don't mind having interesting plot, but it's a romance, and I need romance in my romance. So it just left me kind of wanting. All right, so the next book is The Rogue. This is by Catherine Ash. This is a Devil's Duke novel, and this is the first book in this series. And we have Lady Constance and Evan Saint, Andre Sterling, but he goes by Saint. And Constance is a young girl. She's about 16 or 17 when she runs off to this party at a nearby house. She lives in the country with her father, who's a duke. And she goes to this party, and she's kind of hiding out in the wings, trying to watch and see, what goes on at parties. And this guy catches her eye, and he comes over to her, and they start talking, and they have this really, really good chemistry. And so for 2 weeks, they meet each other in secret. And then for whatever reason, after the 2 weeks are up, they stop talking to one another. So these two don't see each other for like 6 years. And when they do see each other again, he basically shows up on her father's doorstep. And her father hires him to become her fencing instructor. He doesn't want to do it at first. For whatever reason, he's upset with her. Her dad convinces him. And so they start doing fencing lessons. This book had a lot of talk about fencing. Like, a lot of talk about fencing. Which was kind of annoying. At a certain point, it was like, we get it. Parrying and parrying and whatever. But I did like it. I gave it 4 stars. We've got amazing chemistry in this book. Like, their chemistry was off the charts. Like, the flirtation, the comebacks, and the quips, and like, these two know how to flirt. They know how to flirt. I loved just their banter was off the charts. That was my favorite part of this book. So there were times where the conversations were a little bit hard to follow, which annoyed me. It only happened like maybe 2 or 3 times, but I kind of finished a conversation and was like, what just happened? Like, what were we what exactly were they talking about? So there's just a few scenes like that where it's like I couldn't really keep track of what they were talking about. And that was annoying for me, just to not be able to follow. And like, at one point I was like, am I just stupid, or is she not writing this conversation out very well? I do like her writing. It's very interesting. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of Karen Rainey. Like, she can be very descriptive about things. So I thought that was interesting. But as a whole, I liked the book. It had some very exciting parts. A lot of like espionage, and she's part of a secret society, and so there's espionage, and it's an interesting book. I'm excited to read the rest of this series. Like I said, I like her writing, and so I'm looking forward to it. I think the next one is like the Prince, and then there's the Duke, and then the Earl is the last one, I believe. So I'm looking forward to reading all the books in this series. They all look like they're going to be really fun. The next book I read is by Evangeline Collins. This is 7 Nights to Forever, and someone in the comments actually recommended this book to me. And I thank them for that, because this one was really, really good. I ended up giving it 5 stars. So this one is about Rose and James, and Rose is a sex worker. She happens to, she lives in the country, but once a week she comes to town and she works at a brothel. And James is this lonely man. He's married, but it's basically a name only. He's married to a lady, but he himself is gentry. He's just a working man. And his wife hates him because she had hoped to marry someone of the ton, someone of her own class, basically. And so she hates him. She treats him like shit, and he's basically very, very lonely. And so he decides he's going to go to a brothel. He's very weirded out by it at first, but she helps make him really comfortable. And it takes him a little bit, but he eases up, and they finally start to have moments together. And he realizes after a while, like, she's the only one he wants to sleep with. Like, he doesn't want to sleep with anyone else at this brothel. He only wants Rose. But because she only works there once a week, or 1 week a month, sorry, because she only works there 1 week a month. He eventually asks her to go with him to the country and spend a week together in the country. And they basically have this deep, passionate affair out in the countryside. And when they get back, they both kind of realize their feelings for each other. And yeah, this one was really, really sweet. This was a very, like, touching story. I felt for him, the way his wife would treat him. She was just horrible to him. So I really felt for him in that way. But they're both very, very sweet people. Like, they're both just so nice. They're both just so nice. I was like, I need you two to be able to have your happy ever after because no one else deserves it more. Like, they're just such sweet people, the two of them. And they're so sweet with each other. Their feelings around, the money being exchanged and whether there was true emotions between the two of them because of money being exchanged. Those were pretty complicated feelings that they were both going through. And yeah, I really, really like this one. I have nothing negative to say about this book. Like, from start to finish, I finished it really quickly. This was like the one book in the entire month that I just flew through. It was beautiful. This was a beautiful, beautiful story. So if you're able to get this book, I had to buy it off of some random, I think bookshop.org maybe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think they had it on Thrift Books, so if you're able to get your hands on it, it's really, really good. I don't know if there's an audiobook for it. I didn't bother checking, but yeah, this is a good one. This is a really, really good one. So the last book I read in April is by Karen Rainey, and this book I read for the Historical Hellions. This is the book that they did in April. I don't know if their video for it is out yet, but I plan on watching that just to kind of see what everybody else's opinions are on this book. So this is Tapestry, and this book is about Alex and Laura, and Laura has loved Alex since she was a child. There's like a 10-year age gap between the two of them, but when she was a child, he would just do all these sweet things for her. She always loved him, even as a young girl. I think they met when she was like 10 years old. But he was just very sweet on her, and he would, just do nice things for her. At one point, she did something that would have gotten her in trouble, and he didn't tell on her, and she was she was like fawning over the fact that he never told on her. He ends up going to war, and he comes back, and he is scarred. He has a lame hand, and he's not doing too good. He wears a mask on one side of his face to hide himself from society, and he's not okay. And he won't see anyone, and so she decides she's going to pretend to be a maid and go work in his home. And he doesn't recognize her, so he's just like, okay, this new maid is kind of cute. But because she's a lady, she doesn't know how to do anything. Like, she can't set fires, she can't like boil a pot of water, like she can't clean the carpets, like she can't do anything. And so all the staff in the home are like, there's something wrong with this girl, like we seriously think she's stupid. And he's like, well, I don't want to kick her out just because she's stupid, like that would be a messed up thing to do. So let's just let her stay and she'll eventually learn. And so he won't fire her. But she becomes the one who starts to take his food to him. The staff are scared around him for whatever reason, and so she becomes the person that takes his food to him regularly, like every day. She takes his tray of food up to his room because he won't walk around the house. He feels like he scares everyone. And so they start to talk, they start to become friends, and eventually things happen, and then she leaves and she goes home. And a few weeks later, she finds out that she's to marry Alex. And he did not know who she was when she was working at his home. So when their wedding day comes around and he lifts that veil, he is definitely shocked and very upset. And it was interesting. It was very, very interesting. But they're able to work through that, and they end up having a very, very sweet, very loving marriage. And then one day the prime minister asked him to help with the war efforts. This is during Napoleonic times, I think. So during Regency. And he decides he's going to leave to go help with the war, but he doesn't tell her. And so she wakes up one morning and her husband is gone. And things get very, very interesting from there. This book was very sad. This book made me cry. This book was a lot. A lot of emotions, a lot of things going on, a lot of growing up for her, especially. And it ends on a really, really good note, but this book was a lot. This book was a lot, like, emotionally. It was kind of emotionally draining, to be honest. Because she does go through a lot, emotionally. And, this book was a lot, but I gave it 5 stars. It really did leave a mark on me. Like, this is one of those books that you don't forget because it's just so, like, it left a mark on me for sure. I really love Laura. She's very sweet and charming, and she's very, like, she's kind of childlike in the beginning, but she really does grow up, and she has a lot of character development by the end of the book. Yeah, so I said that this book was sad, heart-wrenching, sweet, and captivating. It really was. She kind of rips your heart out with this book. And I don't know if this is one of Karen Rainey's first books or not. I'm assuming it probably is, but this is a really good one. This was the last book I read in April, and I think it was a good reading month. What was that? 3 5-star reads. That's a pretty good month, I would say. So yeah, if you've read any of these, let me know. Let me know what you think. I'm especially interested in seeing if anybody's read that Evangeline Collins book before. Like I said, it was suggested to me by a subscriber, and so I'd love to hear their thoughts, if they watch this video, what they thought about this book as well, just because I really liked it. So thank you for the suggestion. But yeah, that was everything for this month, and if you have any questions about anything, let me know in the comments. Go ahead and leave me the pirate flag emoji if you've made it this far in the video. I don't know why, but I saw a pirate flag emoji a while ago and I thought it was cute, so yeah. Leave me a pirate flag emoji, and I will see you in the next video.